Iowa State gets a resounding win over 14 seed Lipscomb, 82-55. Guy, this is one of those games where watching the first couple possessions, I sent you a text and said this feels like a game that Iowa State wins by 20. They were frying them to start. Like Deshaun Jackson had a huge block that forced a shot clock violation, and it was like, oh, this one might be over quickly. But to Lipscomb's credit, they hung in there. They battled the first half. They got going and got out in transition. And Ognacevic, man, he started cooking, and like that dude can hoop. He's really fun to watch. Whether he's like, he could put the ball in the ball on the deck a little bit. He knocks down threes. Seemed like he had a feel for the moment where it was like, it got to the point where the game was out of hand. And he's like, screw it, I'm letting it fly. I'm gonna get my points that I can tell my kids about later on or whatever. But yeah, I thought Lipscomb gave a valiant effort for that first half to at least stay within striking distance if you like squint hard enough. But ultimately, what'd you see from the Cyclones that led to such a big win?
Well, you know what I saw from them? I saw the team that I picked to win a national championship preseason. They did it without Keyshawn Gilbert,
Hmm.
but they were able to cobble together enough points from secondary pieces that you get a similar amount of points that Keyshawn Gilbert may have been able to provide you. Obviously, Curtis Jones is I mean, you stepped up when Keyshawn Gilbert was still there, but you get nine from Heisey, only one three-pointer, which I was a little bit surprised at because
Hmm.
he was a shooter back in his days in the Valley at UNI. But
Hmm.
you're able to get three from a guy like Caden Fish, who's got one of my favorite names in college
Great
basketball,
name. Great name.
which is mainly why I mentioned him. He's a freshman. You got a guy like Brandon Chatfield who was solid at Seattle last year. But looking at the box scores, you can even if you didn't know how many points each team put up, you can tell it was a blowout just because of how many different guys got in at the end of the game.
Hmm.
Um, Lipscomb hung in until it was about 16-15, and then Iowa State just crushed them the rest of the first half, the rest of the way through. After you sent me that text, feels like Iowa State's going to win by 20. I said, makes us look smart. Then Lipscomb hit like two threes in a row, and I said, well, at least we might have a game. And
We
then
did
they
not.
didn't score again for like another 12 Iowa State points.
Yeah,
Um,
I think one of my favorite stats that tells the story of this one, Lipscomb scored 6 points in the paint in the first half. Like there's your ball game right there. Uh, and they were what, down 16 at halftime? Like, and maybe I was
They
exaggerating
needed
when
a
I said it
bigger
was,
game from Will Pruitt. Like, let's
yeah.
be like the this team has always been Ognisevich first, and but Will Pruitt in second. And yes, you have guys like Powell and Anderson around them, but this has been a team that has been led by Ognisevich and Pruitt. And
Hmm.
if I'm a Lipscomb fan, I'm just saying, you know what? Look what happened to Vanderbilt. It's a bad day for Nashville, Tennessee. That's why we lost. It's nothing that we could have done about it. The world was against our city today.
I love that logic. You're probably just go buy an ASUN championship shirt and be cool with it. Like you
Yeah.
have nothing to hang your hat on, excuse me, to hang your head about this season. It was a really fun team. And
By
I
the way, don't disrespect the ASUN tournament. That's one of the more fun conference
oh,
tournaments we have.
I wasn't. I was saying celebrate that. Celebrate winning your league. That's a
Yeah.
fun accomplishment. And even with that, like Lipscomb, I mean, they were top 100 Ken Palm team this year. They were a trendy. I don't know how many people were picking them to beat Iowa State, but it was at least a trendy like they could at least make it interesting type of pick. And that's for a reason. They're veterans. They shoot the leather off the ball and just play a generally fun style when they're getting up and down the court. And in some ways, I think it tells us more about Iowa State that to exactly what you got to at the top, they're having ancillary pieces step up in these moments. I think Mom Selovich was someone who I might have said this in the preview, but just assumed he was going to be, you know, kind of nondescript, give you 8, 9 points a night, but not really be that McDonald's All American type that I would have said many had hopes that he could materialize into. But you just look at his performances this month. I mean, this game today, it was the third time since the calendar hit March where he's made 4 threes in a game. Like he is really shooting the ball well, giving them a much needed scoring boost from the perimeter. When you
Can I
factor
call him
in
an NBA type guy?
I don't know if I'm ready to go that far, but maybe. I mean, the pedigree's there. Like,
I
I don't
mean,
think that's out of the ordinary
he's what, 6'8", 6'9".
with a
He can
ratchet.
shoot.
Yeah.
He can shoot like that. Yeah.
I will tell you who I do think is an NBA player is Joshua Jefferson.
I
I
like that.
freaking love Joshua Jefferson. That dude, he's the kind of guy who should stick around the league for like 5 to 10 years because he's going to fill any role you need him to. If you need physicality in the post, he's got you. If you need rebounding, he's got you. If you need to run the offense through him as a piece off the bench, he's an incredible passer. I thought like again was something we touched on in the preview that if Lipscomb doubled him, he'd make them pay. Like he threw that gorgeous cross court pass, and 2 possessions later, he had that bounce pass at the top of the key for the easy layup. Like I love watching him play. I think he's probably the best glue guy in the country. And I mean, it's 10, 8, and 8. What more do you have? 2 blocks, 3 steals. Like, come on now. That's the type of stat line that any coach in the country, like especially coaches who love like the old school physicality, toughness, know your role type of guys, they're all salivating over that. I'm a huge Joshua Jefferson fan and just kind of seeing his emergence. I hope we see it more on a national stage to maybe get the draft conversation going. But those are the type of players it's a guards game, and you would ideally have Keyshawn Gilbert out here, though I think Lipsy and Curtis Jones and Momcilovic, they gave you plenty of a scoring pop tonight. But Joshua Jefferson, those are the type of role players that pretty much every title team has.
Yeah, I think where they'll miss not Momcilovic, where they'll miss Keyshawn Gilbert the most is he's a sneaky underrated defender.
Hmm.
He's been like a top 50 Evan Mia defender the past couple years. Shout out to Evan Mia, by the way, friend of the show. But that's the kind of thing that bringing in Nate Heisey to start in his role will never get you that defensive quality that he brings you. But here's what I'll say. I feel very confident with the way that Iowa State played in this one, that the hotel that they're staying at in Milwaukee has dumbbells that go up to at least 75 pounds. We know that TJ Otzelberger needs to get his lift in every day. I feel very confident the dumbbells go at least up to 75. He can get a clean 12 rep dumbbell bench and actually get a sweat in because that's how they played today.
Uh, Couldn't have said it better myself, guy. I'm glad Otzelberger's biceps get a national platform for at least one more game. Does this affect? I know you said they were your national title pick if Keyshawn Gilbert was healthy. I'm not ready to call them that. They're up to 10th on Kim Palm, so I'm not going to say it's completely unrealistic. I do think just having, like, I still think Gilbert's the best guard on this team, even with how Curtis Jones has been playing as of late. I still think that catches up to them eventually. But where are you at with, like, the ceiling of this Iowa State team?
I think it just makes me feel more confident that they'll be able to get to and have a great shot in that Michigan State game. I obviously because of the Gilbert injury, a lot of them were saying like, oh, maybe the predictive metrics finally catch up to North Carolina and they do as well as we think and make a second weekend. Or people thought that, oh, Ole Miss is just gonna, be that team that can beat a team like Tennessee, so they can beat a team like Iowa State,
Yeah.
especially missing
Mm.
Keyshawn Gilbert. But I think this sort of just reaffirms in everybody's brain that no, this is the class of this pod. Uh, it's very likely you see them in a second weekend. And I think that they've got a real shot at once they get there, potentially doing some damage to Michigan State. Maybe you beat an Auburn and find yourself in the Final Four or Texas A&M, whoever it is. But I think that if you're an Iowa State fan, you've got to be thinking, game to game, weekend to weekend at this point. Next team up is Ole Miss, and I feel very confident that they'll be able to win that one. Full preview will be up on the channel, so you can go watch that. But just if you're an Iowa State fan, you have to feel good at this game. Doesn't matter what conference they play, and doesn't matter who it's against. You were up by like 40 points at one point in this game. Once the walk-ons came in is when it came down to under 30. I mean,
Yeah.
there's I can't have a negative. Like there aren't any.
Hmm. Speaking of walk-ons, final shout out to Cade Kelderman. They mentioned him being a walk-on like 10 times. I just want to make sure everybody knew that he was a walk-on, getting buckets today. I'm with you, guy. I think this team. Wouldn't be entirely surprised if they made a Final Four. Initially, I would have thought they'd get packed up by Michigan State pretty easily, but I think they can be right there. So good to see the Cyclones show us something. You know, it's always tough to know how much can you gauge from these games, especially for a team that has really just beaten up on mid majors since Otts took over. But I think Lipscomb was a quality enough opponent that it makes you feel better about seeing some of the downward trajectory that Iowa State has appeared to be on. We got Ole Miss next. That full preview is up on the channel, so go check that one out as well.
It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.